Backcourt Marketing, Eric Cohen and Shane Dale. And let me just say this before we get going. Obviously, a lot to talk about. It's Pac-12 tournament week for the men's basketball team. The women are off. And football's back in spring practice. Shane, we have two of the best guests that I'm telling you, this might be one of our most awesome shows of all time on Wildcat Country. We have the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, who really never coached at Arizona, honestly, but his son is on Jedd Fisch's staff, and that was Jedd Fisch's mentor. So it'll be really good to talk to one of the great characters and head coaches in college football history.
And he'll be talking at Jedd Fisch's camp here in a couple of weeks too. That's the main reason why I brought him on. Just want to mention that.
Yeah. So we're really looking forward to that. And of course, your favorite college basketball analyst, a guy that speaks with a ton of passion and knows his stuff and was a really annoying player for Arizona to face back in the early 2000s, late 90s. And that's Casey Jacobsen of Fox Sports. He'll be calling the Pac-12 tournament games for Fox and Fox Sports 1 this weekend. So great show on tap. You guys are going to want to listen to every second of this one. Fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to getting to it. But before we go any further, it is time for Buy or Sell, powered by our friends at Ice Shaker. Check them out, iceshaker.com. You know, my little plug, I like to do these sponsor plugs. And we're really lucky, Shane. We have two awesome sponsors that we really believe in. Obviously, Backcourt Marketing, who's the presenting sponsor of the show, and Ice Shaker. Whether you're going to the gym, on the golf course, I played golf this weekend, and you
go ahead and do some name dropping, Eric.
Yeah, no, I'm not name dropping anybody. I'm not going to do that. I was in a cool golf tournament, nonetheless. These things are so cool, and you want to check them out. We had a friend who purchased two of them that were non-Wildcat Country editions.
But you can buy the Wildcat Country editions as well.
And how do you get a discount code, Shane?
Wildcat Country, you put that in, that promo code in when your first purchase, $5 off, capital W, capital C, all one word, Wildcat Country.
All right. So check that out, iceshaker.com. All right, here we go. Buy or sell. These questions are pretty much what you would want us to answer. So we're going to start with these. Number one, Shane, Arizona deserves a number one seed in the NCAA tournament, regardless of what happens this weekend in Vegas. Do you buy or sell that?
I buy that they deserve one. I'm selling that they've locked one up. A couple weeks ago, I think I even said this. I thought, look, if they finish 18-2, that they beat either USC or Colorado, then take care of business against Stanford and Cal, they'd have a one seed locked up. I'm not as confident in that now. I'm just going to address your question for now. Your question was, do they deserve one at this point, regardless of what happens the rest of the way? Yes, absolutely. You get caught up in the quad one wins. They have 5 of them. USC's right outside quad one for their home win. They have a bunch of wins right outside of quad one. So, and a lot more than other teams do. They don't have a bad loss. The Colorado loss wasn't great, but it wasn't awful by any means. UCLA, Tennessee, those aren't bad losses. So absolutely, I think even if they do suffer a defeat in the Pac-12 tournament quarterfinals against Stanford or, God forbid, ASU, I think that they have earned a one seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yes. Okay. I'm with you, Shane. I'm buy. Here are the number one seeds. You have Arizona, or Gonzaga is going to be the one overall. You have the winner of the Big 12, assuming it's Kansas or Baylor. You have the winner of the SEC, assuming it's Auburn or Kentucky, and you have Arizona. I don't see, unless the Wildcats were to lose by like 40 to Stanford, and I'm not even sure Stanford can score 40, or ASU.
So here's the scenario. People are getting mad at me for saying that Arizona doesn't have a one seed locked up. Look, again, I think they should. I'm talking about what the selection committee is going to do, or what they might do. Here's a scenario where I think they could still lose the one seed. Okay. They lose to Stanford or ASU on Thursday. That would be a non-quad one. That'd be a quad 2 loss. Their only quad 2 loss as of now. And Colorado is right on the cusp there.
Right.
Then you have Auburn wins the SEC tourney, so they're a one seed. Gonzaga's a one seed. I think they're the only lock for sure at this point.
Okay. All right.
Then you have, say, Kansas and Baylor meet in the Big 12 championship game. Kansas wins a close game. As of now, Lenardi at least has them as Baylor as the number 2, right ahead of Arizona. In that scenario, would you knock Baylor out of a one seed for losing a close game to Kansas in the championship game, or would you? I'm asking what the committee would do, or would you look at that as an excuse to throw Arizona into the West region with Gonzaga, and because they love to do that kind of crap. So I'm just saying, I think there's a scenario, a lot of things would have to play out, but I think there's a scenario where if Arizona were to lose in the Pac-12 tournament quarterfinals, they could still be snubbed of a 1 seed. So I don't think it's locked up yet. I'm sorry. Don't shoot the messenger. And look, maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And hopefully it won't even come to that. Look, hopefully they at least get to the Pac-12 tournament championship game. But I don't think it's locked up yet. I still think there is work to be done.
Okay. So I want to lead into number 2. I'm kind of afraid, but our buddy Jeff Dean brought this up and on Twitter, and you scoffed at it. And I'm not buying or selling this one. I'm just going to present it out there. If you were Tommy Lloyd, Shane, assuming Gonzaga wins its conference tournament, and we're recording this the night before the WCC championship game, which Gonzaga is in. If Gonzaga wins that tournament, Arizona can't get the number 1 overall seed. You would not be playing your starters too many heavy minutes Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm not saying bench them for good. I'm just saying, I wouldn't play guys 25 minutes or more. Let's say that.
Okay. So
by yourself.
Okay. So you know how I feel. We've already talked about, I think they still maybe have work to do to get to earn a 1 seed, to secure, absolutely lock up a 1 seed. Okay. Throwing that out the window for a second. Let's say they go into this tournament and they've locked up a 1. I still hate the idea of playing back at all. And I don't think that's what this team is made of. I understand, not wanting to risk injury, but there's a risk every single time you take the court. Even during practice, there's a risk. So I don't think this team would respond well to that. Like if Tommy Lloyd went out and said, look, you guys aren't playing as many minutes. We're going to put Adama Ball and Shane Noel in there and whatever. I think that he would lose these guys a little bit. So no, I don't like the idea of playing back at all. I think they need to go all out to win this tournament, and not necessarily because of seeding, but because just keep the momentum going. And could you imagine playing a little loose or, benching some of your starters late in the game with a packed arena full of Arizona red? So I don't see it. I know it's been a discussion. I understand the logic behind it, but even if, like I said, if Arizona had a 1 seed locked up, which I don't think they do, I completely sell the idea that they should tank even a little bit in the Pac-12 tournament.
Here's why I'm saying this, Shane. I see Wisconsin yesterday. Johnny Davis, their best player, All-American, gets hurt. Wisconsin loses to Nebraska. Do you really we saw Dalen Terry go down, I think it was Thursday, late in the game against Stanford, and we're all like, oh God, if Dalen Terry's hurt. Ben Matherin, Tubelis, Koloko, or Terry, if one of those 4 guys gets hurt, Arizona is in deep trouble. Do you really want to risk that in games that probably don't mean much?
So what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that they don't play, or they play 10 minutes or what?
I'm just saying no more than 20. I'm putting a minute restriction, and nobody's playing more than 25 minutes in these games.
Like it. I get it. And look, as a lifelong Suns fan, or U of A too with Brandon Ashley, but a lifelong Suns fan that's seen championship runs derailed by injuries, I get it completely.
Sure.
But I just feel like there's the intangibles of playing for each other and the cockiness this team has, and the positive vibe that Tommy Lloyd has brought to this team. I think you risk losing. I think the risk of playing back a bit maybe even exceeds the risk of injury. Right. Which again, you have regardless of how many minutes a team play. I referenced the Suns. Danny Manning's injury the year after the Suns went to the finals was during a practice. Okay, it could happen anytime. So yes. I get what you're saying. I get it, but I don't like it. I am going to sell.
We'll ask Casey Jacobsen what he thinks about this. I'm not saying that I'm buying it. I'm just throwing that suggestion out there.
I know.
Saying, I would consider that. Okay. Number 3, the team that scares you most in Vegas for Arizona's purposes on its side of the draw, not including the Southern California schools, is not Oregon or Colorado. It's the red hot ASU Sun Devils, who Arizona potentially could face on Thursday. Do you buy or sell that?
Well, I guess I'd buy from the standpoint that the idea of losing to them in the Pac-12 tournament is awful. You think you have a clean sweep of the Sun Devils, you don't have to see them until next season, and then you lose to them, and that potentially cost you a 1 seed. That would be the nightmare scenario. So in that regard, yes, I do think that if they meet, Arizona would win. I think it would be a tough game. And ASU's played Arizona pretty tough. For 1.5 games, they played Arizona tough. They jumped out to the big lead in the game you went to in Tempe. Before that, the game in Tucson that I was at, thanks to the tickets you provided me, It was like, it's great being McHale, don't get me wrong, but it was like 2 hours in a dentist chair. It was just so difficult to watch because it was just a grind out kind of game. So in terms of like the rivalry, yes, it's scary, but if you're just talking about like which teams are most likely to beat Arizona in the Pac-12 tournament, I think we're probably going to talk about this in our last segment. I think there are teams that are a little bit scarier. So yes, ASU's playing well. I don't know if they're going to get past Stanford in the first round. I think Stanford might pull it together.
Stanford's not. No, Stanford's not good.
We'll see. We'll see.
ASU's on a roll. That game scares me a little bit. I think Arizona wins. I think the game's close.
Yeah,
if ASU makes it there on Thursday. Okay. Number 4, the team not named Gonzaga that should scare Arizona most in the NCAA tournament. I know this is early on paper, is Baylor, and here's why I'm going to say Baylor is that team. They slow the game down. We saw the formula for beating Arizona is to slow it down. Do not get in a track meet. Arizona will outscore probably every team if it's a high-scoring game. Maybe Gonzaga would be the toughest one. Baylor will grind that game to a halt. That is why, to me, they are the second team I'm scared of facing in the NCAA tournament or in Arizona's region. Would you agree with that?
A healthy Baylor, yeah, I'll buy it. I think that's a good analysis, Eric. They would concern me certainly. You look at the list of players, former Arizona players or former Arizona commits in KJ Simpson's case, who come back to beat the Wildcats. You got to think James Akinjo. It just would be fitting if he went off for 30. But I would buy that. I think the other team that, for whatever reason, that concerns me is Kentucky. If they were to meet in a 1-2 game or in the Final Four. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Baylor is in terms of matchups is probably the toughest Arizona would face outside of Gonzaga.
Okay, this one is not men's team related, but let's touch on the women. They suffered a first round exit against Colorado in the women's Pac-12 tournament last Thursday. So, number 5, does the Arizona women's team deserve a top 4 seed, knowing that Kate Reese is probably not going to be 100% the rest of the season?
I buy that they deserve a top 4. And by the way, ESPN's resident bracketologist, women's bracketologist, Charlie Cream, has Arizona still as a 4 seed. The selection committee can and does factor in injuries, and Arizona didn't have Kate Reese for its final 3 and I guess 1/4 games, which they could have won, good chance they would have won a couple of those. So you factor that in, you look at their non-conference. That win over Louisville still shines. It's still very, very good. I wish they had a chance to play Stanford at home, but they didn't. But the win over Oregon, the win over Colorado early in the season, I think that they squeak in as a top 16. You're asking me I think they deserve it. I think so. And then a separate question I'll ask myself, will they? I think they will. They were, I think, before the conference tournaments, they were the number 11 overall seed in the latest projections. I don't think they're going to tumble all the way out of the top 16 after that. And I think, again, factoring in Kate Reese's injury, she is their best player. I think the committee is going to take that into account and give Arizona a couple of home games in the tournament.
I'm going to sell this, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't think Kate Reese will be 100% the rest of the way. Who knows what kind of contribution she'll provide. And at that point, I just don't think Arizona is a top 20 caliber team without Kate Reese, a healthy Kate Reese. I appreciate what they did earlier in the season, did not really finish that well. I do not think they deserve home court. I hope they get it. Obviously, I just don't think they deserve it.
It would just be such a shame. I mean, last year they didn't get the opportunity because everything was centralized because of COVID. The year before that they would have hosted, and they'll
have plenty of years where they'll get it.
I know it's just be the 3rd year in a row where they just kind of get, I don't want to say screwed out of it, but it's where it looks like they're going to be able to play some NCAA tournament games in front of their home fans, and it won't happen. So I really hope that they squeak in this time.
It's the Kate Reese injury. I'm telling you that's the only reason. That's the only reason. All right. Bonus question. Shane, the first game, the first week of spring practice was last week, and watching Arizona, just the highlights that I saw from Arizona's receiving core. You got T-Mac, you have Jacob Cowing, from UTEP, you have Dorian Singer, you have some other guys. Jamari Joyner's just had another foot surgery.
Yeah,
I mean, Shane, is it crazy to think that Arizona's offense will be in the top half of the Pac-12? Now with a legitimate quarterback and probably the best receiving core, I would say, arguably in the conference. Are you buying or selling Arizona's offense top half of the conference at this juncture?
Ooh, that's a good question, Eric Cohen. I, without thinking more about it, because you put me on the spot, that's the whole idea behind this bonus question, right? I'll sell it for now with the option to change my mind. The offensive line still concerns me. They have the quarterback. They have more quarterback depth now. Obviously, Delora looks like he's going to be the guy. Plenty of great wide receivers. You know, whoever starts a quarterback for Arizona is going to have the luxury of just being able to toss it up to T-Mac or a couple of other guys and know they're going to come down with it. You know, there aren't a lot of quarterbacks going to be in that situation. So, but top half, you're talking about just a total offense.
Statistically
total offense. I'll sell for now. I'm thinking more like in the 7 to 8 range, but before the season starts, ask me that again, and I might change my mind.
So, you know, I'm the ultimate optimist when it comes to anything Arizona football related. I'm just saying this. I'm not bullish on Colorado. I'm not bullish on Washington's offense, on Cal's offense, on Stanford's offense, on ASU's offense.
Yeah,
so right
ASU.
there. I mean, and so right there, Arizona to me is in the top 7, just on paper right there. Call me crazy. And I think the Wildcats are definitely top 5 or 6. So right now I'm buying it. But then again, we know I am overly optimistic when it comes to everything Arizona football related. All right, Shane, coming up, I'm so excited to introduce our 2 guests. These guest segments are just, crazy. Steve Spurrier, one of the great coaches. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. He's one of the great coaches in the history of college football and the ultimate character, going to join us. And then your favorite broadcaster, Casey Jacobsen, whose passion really stands out. So looking forward to having them on. What a great episode of Wildcat Country, powered by Backcourt Marketing.
What's up, Wildcat Country? Chris Krakowski here. Bear down. Let's go. I wanted to introduce you to the newest sponsor of the Wildcat Country podcast. That's the Ice Shaker. So check this out. Keep your drinks hot. Keep your drinks cold. We got you covered. Snag one today. Use coupon code Wildcat Country at iceshaker.com.
Shane, this one is super exciting, as we teased on last week's show. One of the great personalities in the history of college football, Heisman Trophy winner, national championship winning coach, College Football Hall of Famer, the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, joining us here in Wildcat Country. Coach, great to have you. And what's interesting about Jedd Fisch in his being now at Arizona in his second year as head coach, he said he went to the University of Florida just to work under you. What do you remember about Coach Fisch while at UF?
Oh, I didn't know he came to Florida to do that. Jedd was, I guess, a volunteer. He helped our running back coach, Buddy Tevens, 1 or 2 years. So he was just sort of hanging around. And, of course, he was welcome, and he helped out any way he could. But I didn't know he came because I was the coach there. But I know some other coaches like Brian Schottenheimer. He transferred from Kansas to come to Florida because he wanted to be a ball coach and an offensive coach. And of course, Brian's been in the NFL many years. And I guess he's still waiting on a head job like a lot of assistant coaches are. But I didn't know Jedd came because of me.
Well, Coach, first of all, like Eric said, thanks so much for joining us. Love the Arizona shirt you got on for those watching. Appreciate that. The story is Jedd Fisch left a sticky note on your car every day for a long time to try to get his foot in the door. Is that an accurate story?
I don't know about every day, but I think he left a few. But then he got a chance to go. John Hope got a chance to go to the NFL, I think the Houston Texans. And they had a spot for Jedd out there. So I think that started his moving around. And obviously in the coaching profession, you need to move around a bit and then hopefully land a top job like Arizona. I think Arizona's an excellent job. And the recruiting success he had this year, I think proves that. Those kids want to go to Arizona. It's a nice place to live, play ball, get a degree from the school. And if you're good enough to go to the NFL, you can go right from Arizona. No question about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Coach, because Arizona obviously had a rough first year under Coach Fisch, as we all knew they would based on the situation when you came in. But Arizona currently has the best or second best incoming class in the Pac-12, depending on which service you're looking at, and a top 25 class nationally. They've added some outstanding transfers. Objectively, Coach, have you ever seen a program put together that kind of class after a 1-11 season?
Well, I haven't watched a lot to do that, but I will say that obviously the success this coming year will prove whether this class is really good or not. I've seen some recruiting classes that didn't pan out. So to me, it's always wait till the season starts. But obviously, Jedd and his coaches were able to sell University of Arizona football to so many good players. Now, hopefully they can come together and form a very good team next year. It doesn't take long nowadays with that transfer portal. If you get a bunch of good players and recruit well, I think you can turn it around quickly. So hopefully that'll happen for the Wildcats next year.
Is that something that hasn't changed since your day, since you first started coaching, that selling kids on the idea of getting better and going to the NFL is the most important thing?
I don't know that we said it was the most important thing back when I was coaching. We threw it out a little bit. But we really, I don't know, you talk about getting a degree from your university, playing on some championship teams, hopefully, and have some memories of a lifetime, trying to set some school records. I was always big into, man, if we could do something that's never been done before, that's a memory of a lifetime. So I was fortunate enough to be around a bunch of teams that did it for the first time ever. Like even here at Florida, when we won 10 games, my second year, that was the first time in history Florida had ever won 10. And then we won 11, then we won 12. And then we started playing one more game and Urban won 13. So Urban, he's got the school record. But anyway, those things we tried to sell, but we also said, hey, if you're good enough playing the NFL, you can go anywhere just about. But hopefully our staff here can maybe develop especially wide receivers and quarterbacks and offensive guys, because we were pretty much leading the conference every year in offense. So probably had a little better track record on that side. But we had more defensive first-round picks than offensive guys. So we're able to attract those outstanding defensive players also.
Yeah, your teams, I remember at Florida, were just so much fun to watch. And I mean, the air raid show, the Danny Werfel, that's, Shane and I growing up, remember watching those teams, just phenomenal. I want to ask you about realistic expectations from the fans' point of view. So Jedd Fisch was 1-11 in his first year. What is you've rebuilt programs. What is a fair expectation for fans to think about the progression of this program in terms of record and, potentially making a bowl game? Is it year 2? Is it year 3 or beyond that?
Oh, I don't have the answer for all those questions. I always think you just go year by year. And obviously, I think Arizona, their players played hard last year. They only won one, but they had a chance to win 2 or 3 others. So maybe those close losses will turn into victories starting this coming year. But every year, every team stands on its own merit, I believe. You can have different leaders and just a few different players here and there that can make a whole lot of difference one way or the other. So I don't know. I just like to, if I'm watching coaches, obviously you watch a whole bunch of years and add them all up and see how they did. But I think you go year by year. And right now, if I'm in Arizona, we didn't do very well last year, but we're going to try to do a whole bunch better this year. I think that's the attitude Jedd and the guys have.
Got to love that right there. It's interesting, Coach. So your son, Scott, is on Jedd Fisch's staff, but what's interesting is your other son, Steve Jr., was on Mike Stoops' staff back in 2004. And I remember as a student, then I was a senior, and it was rumored that you were on the sideline for the ASU Arizona game that year, that Arizona ended up upsetting ASU. What do you know about the Arizona ASU rivalry and just kind of your thoughts on that?
Well, I wasn't on the sideline, but I was at that game. Yeah, my wife and I flew out for the last one of the year there. And Arizona had, I think, a pretty big upset over Arizona State that Saturday. And I know we had a bunch of happy Wildcats after that game. So I was out there for that one. But other than that, that's, I haven't spent a lot of time in Arizona. I know our Florida Gators got clobbered in the Fiesta Bowl by Nebraska in after the 95 season, one of our best teams ever, but that was, I think, Coach Osborne's best ever Nebraska team, that 95 bunch that we went out there undefeated and got beat 62-24. So it was, they ran the ball for 501 yards against us. So I didn't have a lot of memories very well of the Fiesta Bowl, that's for sure.
And the Arizona fans don't have good memories of the last game they played in the Fiesta Bowl either. Eric and I were both there against Boise State. Like Eric mentioned, Coach, your son Scott's a special teams analyst at Arizona. Just tell us a little bit more about Scott and just a dad's insight into what he brings to Jedd Fisch's staff.
Yeah, Scott went to South Carolina. He was a walk-on player. I think earned a scholarship his last year. And then obviously for some reason, coaches' kids, almost all of them want to coach. So we brought him on as a grad assistant there for a while. Then I think when Muschamp was there, he was an analyst again. And then he worked with Bobby Stoops in the XFL and worked for me in the Alliance of American Football, the Apollos. And we actually ended up winning. Of course, it got cut short. We only played 8 games. In fact, Ricky Neuhauser was the head coach of the Arizona Hotshots.
Right.
It's the only game we lost of our 8. We were 7-1, and we were declared the champ by FanDuel, the online betting site out of Vegas. They didn't want to give everybody their money back. So if you bet on the Orlando Apollos, I think we were 3-1 odds to win the championship. So they paid that out. So he was a special team coach there, and with Bobby Stoops in the XFL, the team in Dallas. And then he hooked on with Jedd there. And hopefully he'll get promoted to a full-time assistant here pretty soon. But I think his specialty is all the special teams, field goals, extra points, kickoff return, kickoff coverage. When he was with us in South Carolina, I told him to hang tight with our special team coordinator, a guy named Joe Robinson. And so he's well prepared to be a head special team coach, hopefully real soon. And he also worked with the tight ends at both places also.
Right.
He was a tight end coach and helps with special teams.
So we've gotten to know Jedd Fisch a little bit out here in Tucson, and he's done off the field. He's done everything right. We think the on-field results are going to come. Can you give us a little more insight, either a story or an insight into Coach Fisch's character that maybe most people don't know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know that I've been around him all that much. I did go to his wedding though. After my 2 years with the Washington Redskins, I didn't have much to do there. And my son Scott actually finished up high school that year. And so I think Jedd got married somewhere up in New Jersey, outside of New York. So I drove up for his wedding on a Friday night. And then I think he's married on a Saturday and so forth. But no, I've just noticed he's been around a lot of really good coaches. I mean, he's with the Rams and McVay. Seems like all of McVay's guys get a head job in the NFL now. So they must know what they're doing. And then, of course, Jedd was with Belichick a year. So he's been around some good ones. But on the other side, you got to do it your way. You know, you can learn from other coaches, but you cannot copy them. You know, coaching is sort of that individual type profession that you got to put your own personal touch to it to be successful. Yeah.
Coach, this is kind of a generic question, but I have to ask it. You've done so many things in the history of college football, Heisman Trophy, national championship, et cetera. What is your most proud moment that you've had throughout your career?
Proud moment as a coach, as a
coach or player, either one.
Well, I think I'd have to separate as a player. Now, if you want to go to a player, as a player, my teams didn't win a whole bunch of big championships. We did not win a conference when I was here, came in second a couple of times. As a player with the 49ers, we won some divisions, and that was about the end of that. We got beat in the playoffs. But as a player in high school, baseball, I'm telling you, we could not lose, basically. We won the state championship my junior and my senior year.
Wow.
And for some reason, and that was state of Tennessee, there was no classification in. So we won my junior year in Nashville and then in Memphis my senior year. And for some reason or another, I don't know why, but as a pitcher, I never lost a game pitching in
really
2 years. I think I was like 14-0, something like that. And so people ask me what, as a player, I think winning those state championships, and I actually pitched both games against the Memphis Christian Brother High School my senior year. So if I had to say what was the greatest accomplishment, I'd say winning that state championship, beating Christian Brothers. As a coach, there's too many of them. As a coach, sometimes winning the SEC is about as big as winning the national championship. You notice Georgia won the national championship this year, but they did not win the SEC. Alabama won the SEC. And Kirby Smart even said, it may be harder to win the SEC than it is the national. You got to win your division, and then you got to beat the team from the other side. And Nick Saban, I think, has won 2 nationals without winning the SEC. You know, he got into the final game and won it that way. So winning all those, we won 7 SECs when I was here. So I would say those and the one national, you got to lump them all in together and say those are sort of the highlight games as a coach for me.
So I have this debate. I know this is Wildcat country, but I've got to ask you about generic college football. I have a debate with some friends on the greatest college football team of our lifetimes. Some say 95 Nebraska that you just referenced in the Fiesta Bowl. Some say 2001 Miami, who I believe you faced in the Sugar Bowl the year before they won the national championship against Nebraska. Would you put one of those teams up there? Would you put one of your teams up there on the greatest team that you've seen in your lifetime in college football?
I'll let other people make those decisions. Obviously, the best team we played against was probably that Nebraska team. Tommy Frazier, the quarterback, and of course they had that player that got in trouble.
Lawrence Phillips.
Yeah. Sad case, but he ran for about 150 or 70 that day, and Tommy Frazier ran for a bunch. Probably the best team we went against. Although I tell you what, FSU had a bunch of good teams all the years we played them. They were usually number 1 or 2 in the country every time we played them, it seemed like, in the 90s. So they were right there with Nebraska. And then, of course, some of the Alabama teams were awfully good. But probably, obviously, the one that clobbered us the most was that Nebraska team of 95.
So, Coach, I know you're going to be speaking at Arizona's P.R.O coaching clinic, which is part of the Jedd Fisch football camp, March 25th, 26th. Can you give us a sneak preview of what attendees can expect to hear from you?
Yeah, I was waiting on that question. I've got a little list of things here. I like every time I get a chance to talk to high school coaches or college coaches or whoever, because when I got into coaching after 10 years in the NFL, now I wasn't supposed to be a coach. I mean, how many guys played in the NFL went on to be a coach? You know, anybody? There's only 2 guys up there, I think, that played in the NFL, Jim Harbaugh and Scott Frost, that are actually college coaches now. Most of them are like Jedd Fisch. A lot of them didn't even play college football, but they learned how to do it. They learned as they went. So anyway, I got into coaching, fortunately, because somebody hired me here at Florida, and then we all got fired. And I went to Pepper Rogers, Georgia Tech. He got fired, but I'd met the Duke University coach. So I got a chance to go to Duke University as the offensive coordinator. And to win at Duke, the offense had to play well, very well, not just average, or else we're all going to get fired again, and I'm probably not going to ever get a chance to be a coach. And our coach there handed out a sheet about my first year there, Coach Red Wilson, excuse me, a wonderful guy. And it's called Guidelines for Player-Coach Relationship. Guidelines. This is how you're supposed to coach. And it starts out with treat everyone fairly, the way they deserve to be treated. You don't treat everybody the same way. You treat them the way they deserve to be treated. If you have to criticize a player, do it to his face. Don't do it behind his back. But then after you criticize, say something positive to bring him back. Stay under control. Don't lose your temper. Coach, and keep coaching before you criticize your players. And then, it goes on and on. Never allow any player to loaf. And then John Wooden's got some quotes in here that I really like also. One of his is that honesty is the centerpiece of a coach-player relationship. Don't BS your players. Don't tell them something that's not true. It'll come back. They won't trust you. And it goes on and on. And so I like to go over this list with young coaches, and hopefully they can see some things in here that maybe they can do better, and go from there. I know another John Wooden quote is that conditioning will pay dividends before the first half is over. We never bragged about how hard our teams work, but I can assure you we condition probably more than most any of the teams. And Coach Wooden's, one of his comments on conditioning was, you be the best you can be. You don't worry about the opponent. Be the best you can be. And that'll take care of conditioning. Every guy's trying to be in the best shape that he can be in. So I go over, I've got about 30 of them, but I go over about 15 or 20 and try to emphasize, if you know how to be a good coach, you got a chance. If you don't, then it's going to be difficult.
In terms of conditioning, Arizona men's basketball definitely has that down right now. It's one of the reasons they're the best teams in the country. Last question for you, Coach. Again, we really do appreciate your time. Tell us more about what you're up to these days in your current role at the University of Florida.
Yeah, when my coaching days in college were over, University of Florida called me up and said, we're going to put your name on the stadium. So it's called Steve Spurrier Florida Field. And we're going to give you a little job here called ambassador and give you an office. So I've got an assistant lady that actually set this Zoom call up and does most all my travel and so forth. So I got something to do every day. And we opened a restaurant 6-7 months ago here called Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's in one of the big shopping center areas here that's very popular, and it's done pretty well. In fact, I got to go out there tonight. Again, the University of Florida Foundation's got about 125 of their strong boosters having a dinner there tonight. So that keeps me pretty busy, at least 2 nights a week, going to the restaurant, shaking a few hands and so forth. Mike Shanahan has got a very successful restaurant in Denver. And he said, Coach, you got to get in there at least twice a week or so. That's what, people want to know that you come in there. They don't want to just see your name on the building. So I try to do that a bunch and travel around a bit. I'll probably come out to the Fiesta Summit meeting again this year in Phoenix. Those guys, I've been to a bunch of those. My wife really loves coming out there to that one also. So travel around a bit and keep up with my other son is coaching at Mississippi State with Mike Leach. And so I get one game a year of those guys also.
Well, Coach, just want to remind you that Mississippi State plays in Tucson on September 10th this year. So your two sons will be coaching against each other.
I did not know that. I'll put it on the books. I'm coming out for that one.
And next year they play in Starkville as well. So it's a home and home.
2-game series. Wonderful.
So there's some good news. Shane and I really appreciate having you on Wildcat Country and look forward to hopefully meeting you in person out here in Arizona one day and hope to have you on the podcast again soon.
All right. I'll be out there March 25 for the Wildcat Coaches Clinic.
Here with Dale Duncan, a very satisfied customer of Backcourt Marketing. Dale, can you tell us what Backcourt was able to do for your company?
Well, they're taking me to the next level with helping me connect to new people for my business. They're helping me find new customers online. They meet with me monthly. They're listening to what I need, and they're really focused on helping me get there.
Excellent. Dale, we appreciate your time. If you know someone who needs social media help, refer them to Backcourt Marketing and get rewarded. Or if you need social media assistance yourself, make sure to check out backcourtmarketing.com.